Hello, and welcome back to the Totally Schway podcast. My name is Mary.
And my name is Luke.
This is a podcast about the DCAU, or whatever I feel like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Occasionally it's about Eric Roberts as well. So how are you today, Luke?
I have a very sore neck. Other than that, I'm great.
Oh, maybe it's time to get a new pillow.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Wouldn't that be great if we were sponsored by like a nice, lovely pillow company? Hey, Casper, we do use your pillows.
Yeah.
So do you want to start the podcast off with some news? Because you actually have a few little news bits.
Yes. So first things first, at the time of this podcast being released, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has just come out on most gaming platforms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mary and I, we've been playing it and having a pretty good time. I noticed a couple of DC Animated Universe references that I thought I would share. I've been posting them in the YouTube community section whenever I spot them. But the first one is Harley Quinn's prison reference number. It's 12993.
Mm-hmm.
That is a reference to her first comic book appearance in Batman Adventures number 12, published in September of 1993.
Mm-hmm.
The airport in Metropolis is named Berkowitz Airport after Stan Berkowitz, writer on Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, and a whole bunch of other cartoons that aren't DCAU related at all. Specific DCAU references also include Winslow Shots Toyman being featured in the designs for the store Shots Toys.
Can we tell who is one of my least favorite characters?
Bane.
Oh no, I love Bane.
And keeping it on Suicide Squad, so this is one of Kevin Conroy's final performances as Batman.
Yeah.
And I've seen some hostility in the comments towards this game, presumably from people that haven't played it. But it's very obvious, listening to Kevin's performance as evil Batman, that he loved every second of doing it. There's just so much glee in his voice. I remember at one of the conventions we attended where he did a panel, he talked about how he always wanted to play a villain and how he'd like to play the Joker. So it's interesting to see Kevin's take on a villainous Batman.
Oh, so I haven't finished the game.
No, me neither.
Because I only started playing it yesterday.
And yes, I know it's in the title, Kill the Justice League. I know what happens. Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't actually got to hear. I've heard a lot of the. I keep saying like evil Batman, but it's like evil Batman. Let's just call it evil Batman. I've heard. I don't think I've even scratched the surface of hearing all of it, because there's quite a. I believe toward the ending, there's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, so when you get a couple of missions in and you kind of hack Brainiac's communications, and the possessed Batman is like coordinating all of the attacks. So as you're like swinging around Metropolis, it's almost constantly Kevin Conroy's Batman criticizing your performance. You know, those four miscreants are useless. Brainiac will assimilate them and turn them into mulch, or whatever he says.
Yeah, I'm very so far I'm very pleased with that game.
But keeping it on the topic of Suicide Squad, so IGN ran a story saying Suicide Squad is not Kevin Conroy's last performance. He's going to be in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3 and Batman Caped Crusader. Well, that last point has been debunked by none other than Bruce Timm, who came out of hibernation to post on, I forget which forum it is he frequents, but there's an animation forum that he is sometimes on. Mm-hmm. And he came out and said that yes, they did want Kevin to be in it and Kevin was up for it, but they weren't able to get him in the recording session before he died. So unfortunately, Kevin Conroy is not playing a character in Caped Crusader. Now, when I shared that news, a number of people took that as me being upset that Kevin wasn't playing Batman. I didn't say that. I said I wanted him to play a character. But it's not happening now. So at least we know, and it's managed our expectations. Whether he actually turns up in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3 or not is another thing. Mm-hmm. This IGN story could be complete hooey. But hopefully, I've said it for a long time, I hope that they bring back some of the DCAU characters for this Crisis on Infinite Earths movie to give them a proper send-off before James Gunn takes over everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer, but...
You know, it's not because, you know, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but you know, it is what it is. We're looking forward to the other amazing voice actors that are going to be a part of that program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully. It's been a long time since we've heard anything about Cape Crusader, and
yeah,
it's got to come out soon. Please, Bruce, if you're listening, just shine a torch out of your bedroom window, do 3 flashes on it, and I'll know everything's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I don't really have a lot to say about it, is because, you know, it feels like the myth of Loch Ness. Is it? I mean, you know, we do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we see the head sometimes, but is it real?
Yeah. Yes, the Loch Ness Crusader.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. Ed Brubaker said that a year ago he was watching the animatics for the episodes. So it's being made, it's being done. He's told people to brace themselves because it's a bit darker than they might be expecting. But hey, sounds great to me. Mm-hmm. Just show me already. Bruce, flash that light 3 times. Just 3 times. If you can't hear me, do it twice.
Yeah. If you need to email, our email's below as well. If you just want to do a video of you flashing the light, we won't tell anybody.
Yeah, that was a joke. I don't know where Bruce Timm lives. I'm not looking out of his bedroom window.
Oh, God, no. I think we're different continents, actually.
We are, yes, yeah. We should move on before I say anything else that makes me sound like a weirdo.
So, the last bit of news that I have written down for us to talk about is a cameo appearance that you've done.
Yes, so you might have seen the community post I put out, but I've made an appearance in a video about Superman the Animated Series' best episodes from a channel called Play Content. C-O-N is in capital letters, so you say Play Content.
That's awesome. I like that name play.
Yeah, and it's from a chap in Wales called Connor, who does a lot of videos about pop culture and cartoons. And I watched his episode about Super Ted, which is one of my favourite like young childhood cartoons. It's very much like I was going to say Captain Marvel, but most of you would think of Brie Larson. Shazam, I suppose. It's a teddy bear that says a secret magic word that gives him powers. A big red costume, and he fights against a cowboy called Texas Pete, a lumbering fat man called Bulk, and a reanimated skeleton, a very camp skeleton called Skeleton.
How do we get this in a live action?
No, it wouldn't work in live action. Don't leave it alone. Watch the you can see full episodes on YouTube though if you're interested. I love Super Ted. They're just like 5-10 minute cartoons.
Oh, nice.
His partner is a spotty man from outer space who's voiced by the legendary John Pertwee, the 3rd Doctor Who. I've gone on a massive tangent. Basically, what I wanted to say was I've been in this video on Connor's channel. Go watch it. Go watch Connor's other stuff. If you like it, subscribe, engage with him because he's a nice guy. He makes lots of jokes in his content. Slightly different to my mopey videos, but it's worth checking out. Before I continue with the rest of the video, I just want to take a moment to plug Manly Bands, who have very kindly provided me with a 20% discount code for you viewers to use across their entire site. The main thing that attracted me to them is their very cool selection of officially licensed DC rings that are available to viewers in the US and Canada. They have designs inspired by Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, Nightwing, Green Lantern and a bunch of other DC characters, as well as rings that contain fragments of genuine fossilized dinosaur bones. If you are getting married, are already married and want to update your wedding band, or you just want to buy some really cool rings, head over to manlybands.com/Serum Lake to get 20% off your order. Just make sure that the discount code Serum Lake is applied at the checkout. And yes, you can use this discount code on sale items to make even bigger savings. Thanks again to Manly Bands, and with that out of the way, let's get back to the video.
Alright, so let's get on to the topic or topics of today's show. So let's talk about
Our Fair Ladies of the DCAU.
Yeah. So would you like to start?
Okay, so we're going to use a similar format to when we talked about Batman Beyond episodes. Mm-hmm. We're just going to pick 5 characters each that we both really like, and then just talk about why we like them and maybe some good moments from their episodes, as well as their voice actors, if we can remember.
Yeah.
Which actually I don't think I noted any of the voice actors for mine, but I know at least 2 of them.
This is why I write notes.
Yeah, all right, fine. Okay, so I'm going to go first, and I am going to talk about Max from Batman Beyond.
Oh, I love Max.
Now, she was introduced as... when was it? I think she was introduced in the second season in the episode Terminal. She's introduced and shown as this like really smart student, top of the class in Terry's high school. Mm-hmm. And she becomes a target of wrath and jealousy from the number 2 person, who is secretly a Joker, one of the gang members. Mm-hmm. But she's running a program on her computer to try and determine Batman's identity. Terry starts getting closer to her to try and dissuade her, but along the way, Max thinks that Terry is actually the Joker that's been tormenting her. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the episode, she's like, aha, okay, actually, no, you're Batman, aren't you? Whoops.
I think Max is such an important character in Batman Beyond, because she brings out kind of, you know, that in James Bond, is it, what's the sidekick's name?
What, Q?
Q, yes. It's kind of like Max reminds me of Q. So I've always thought this, and I'm sorry if nobody else thinks this, but Batman had Alfred. Mm-hmm. And I think Terry has Max, really.
Well, he has Bruce as well.
Well, yeah, and Bruce, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, she's very much like Oracle, who was Barbara Gordon. So she's like a support character. And one of the things that I said in my tier list video for Batman Beyond Heroic Characters, if anyone hasn't watched that, which I bet most of you haven't, Max really wants to be involved in like the day-to-day Batman groundwork, and Bruce is absolutely against it. It takes a long time before Bruce even meets her or even speaks to her. There's an episode with Curare where Max is desperate to get involved, and she ends up investigating a hotel room with one of Curare's targets, or the hotel room that belongs to one of Curare's targets. And Curare comes in thinking that Max is her target briefly, and Max is this close to getting murdered, and it scares the Jesus out of her. But there's a good bit where she calls for help and calls up Bruce Wayne, and he's like, Max, get off the line. I've told you this before. Get off the line. And she's like, help! And immediately Batman's like, nope. Drop everything. Terry, turn around. Go back there. Leave that dude behind. Max needs help. Get over there now.
Yeah. It's really funny how Bruce was like, ugh. You know, ugh. But when it comes down to it, he actually cares about Max.
Yeah. And Max does get involved with Spellbinder. Oh god, I can't remember the name of the episode off the top of my head now, but it's the one where he's like he's giving sad kids access to VR worlds where they have the perfect life, and it's essentially a drug for them, but in exchange they've got to steal for him. So Max signs up for Spellbinder's VR worlds because, one, she wants to stop Spellbinder, but also because she has a miserable life where her parents spend all the time working and she hardly ever sees them. She's got a sister who we never see. But her home life is very lonely, and that's kind of why she tries to fill it with intellectual pursuits and work as Batman. I guess maybe she feels a little worthless because, you know, her family don't pay any attention to her, so she's compensating for that. Yeah. Which is a nice little psychological insight there. Yeah. And then in Where's Terry, she and Bruce go through Gotham trying to find Terry after he gets trapped in a tunnel. And there's two very cool scenes. One where Bruce chases down some gang members who've got Terry's backpack to ask him where it is, and they try to mug him. And then Max just interrupts and she talks street talk to them, and kind of that gives Bruce the opportunity to beat them up instead. Mm-hmm. And then later on, when they find they're told that Terry's in the tunnel somewhere in the train station, they head down there, but there's security there. Max says, hey, Bruce, why don't you go over there and talk to them and distract them? While they're not looking, I'll go down through the other tunnels and find my way to Terry. And surprisingly, Bruce agrees. But when he gets down there, he says, excuse me, should that young lady be messing around in those tunnels over there? And then the security go off and capture Max. And Bruce just trots off down in the tunnel to find Terry.
I love that.
And we later see Max being like dragged away in handcuffs. Which I'm sure Bruce bailed her out.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm sure he did. Yeah, so Max was voiced by Cree Summer, who is a very recognisable voice in children's animation. She had a role in Rugrats as well, I remember that.
Yes, I loved Rugrats.
Yeah.
So the first character I want to talk about is Wonder Woman, who is voiced by Susan Eisenberg, who is absolutely, positively amazing. So Wonder Woman is Diana, Princess of Themyscira.
Mm-hmm.
One of the many things I like about Wonder Woman, and a lot of the characters that we're going to talk about, is she is badass without even trying. And I think the character of Wonder Woman in itself teaches everyone, not just little girls, not just teenagers, but everyone. She teaches everyone that you don't have to be a man to do things. Mm-hmm. A man and a woman can do the same thing. We can kick ass, take names, and vote however we want to, you know? And I love that. And in the DCAU, they've really kicked that into high gear because, you know, it was in the early 2000s, and it was where I think women, people of color, and, you know, the LGBTQA were really having another movement, and having a lot of the characters that I'm going to talk about today really gave us hope that, you know, people care about these things, because there is a cartoon that's supposed to be about kids that are referencing things like this, like female empowerment, queer culture, club kid culture, you know, psychology, mental health, and all of that. And it's okay to do that. And I think Wonder Woman is a great place to start in talking about that.
Do you have any favorite episodes?
Well, I do like the first one that she's in, because
Secret Origin.
Yes, because it shows that she has a bit of conflict with where she comes from and the man's world. Mm-hmm. And in the end, the man's world doesn't win, as in like taking her away. She's going into the man's world to help. And I think just introducing Wonder Woman in that way to, you know, the kids of the early 2000s, and obviously the adults too, was just, it's great. I mean, I think that's her origin story as it is, but having it in a cartoon to actually say, you know, she went out there not to change everything, but to help. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of her hero story, because Wonder Woman is a hero, will always be a hero, and is, you know, she probably is my favorite lady superhero. Mm-hmm. Because it's such a good thing for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh my God, Susan Eisenberg, I don't think that Wonder Woman could have been as hardcore lovely as she was if it wasn't for Susan Eisenberg. And that's, again, I'm going to say this again. A lot of these voice actresses just kicked ass. Honestly, like there's a few of them that Luke's talked about in detail, and you just can't beat it. But yeah, I know I said a lot without saying a lot, but Wonder Woman is one of my favorite heroes, because she kicks ass in so many different ways.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman is a hero in also the classical sense, mm-hmm. in that it's heavily implied that her father was it Ares? He was the black-haired god that was Ares. Beneath Themyscira. Yeah, because obviously her mother is blonde. Ares has very dark hair. Mm-hmm. Diana has very dark hair. And they were lovers, of course. So let's put two and two together and say that they just made up that she was made out of clay rather than saying that she was the daughter of Ares. And the more, well, I was going to say more recent comic books, the New 52 stuff was over 10 years ago. They made Diana be the daughter of Zeus. So I think it makes sense for her to be, a hero in the classical sense, a demigod.
Definitely. She is my hero.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about the Wonder Woman and Batman shipping that people do? Wonder Bat.
I don't mind it.
It's not your headcanon.
Well, first off, they could be in a relationship if they want to be, if that's what the writers want them to be. But I believe that one of my other favorites should be his girlfriend.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute then, I
So
suppose.
should I go on to my second one?
No, I'm going to go on to my one. It's my turn.
It's your turn.
So just a quick one here, but my next favourite is Isis the cat.
Oh.
Bless her heart, that loyal, lovely creature. We loved that cat so much that we named our own... When we got our own place and we got our own pets, we adopted a cat and named her Isis. And, she's had 2 boys... and who we've still got. Our Isis passed away a few years ago.
We did.
It's very sad.
We talked about it on a podcast.
Yeah, we talked about that enough already. But even an episode like Cat Scratch Fever, which is objectively not very good, the moments with Isis the cat are probably the best bit in there, because obviously Isis goes missing, and she has been caught by Roland Daggett's stray animal catchers who have taken her to a lab to be tested on. And she's infected with a test virus that they want to inflict on the city and then sell the cure for. And poor Isis. She looks so groggy and sickly when Catwoman breaks into the lab to get her out, but then she bites Catwoman, infecting her. Catwoman becomes ill. Batman gets involved. My favourite thing about that episode is, Catwoman saves the day. Roland Daggett's scheme is exposed. But she goes home. Isis isn't there. She still hasn't found Isis, so she's still moping. Then this little basket is lowered down from the rooftops onto her balcony, and out pops Isis, and Isis jumps up on the chair behind Selena Kyle and goes, meow, meow. And the joy on Selena Kyle's face, even with that shoddy animation, completely relatable, completely understand it. And I should add that Isis the cat was voiced by Frank Welker, who does a lot of animal voices and sounds. He's like, anytime there's like a werewolf or something, he's always like, it's usually him. I think Frank Welker also voiced Scooby-Doo. Yeah. So I won't hold that against him, though. But yeah, my pick, Isis.
So I should do one of my other picks, Catwoman.
Okay, go on then.
Okay, so Catwoman, who was voiced by Adrienne Barbeau. Her name is Selena Kyle. I've written this. The thief that stole my heart. I love Catwoman because she not only is a quote unquote villain, but she also helps Batman sometimes. And I think that's pretty swell. I like the background of Selena Kyle, and obviously I love the fact that Isis is a big part of her life, and the voice actress, again, amazing. Couldn't ask for anything more from Adrienne. And yeah, do you have any facts about Catwoman? I know it's because I've spoken about Catwoman so much that I'm like, maybe I don't want to go on for half an hour just because, I could.
I'll tell you a fun little fact. So I think everybody by now knows that the Warner Brothers studio executives, I should say, mandated that the animated series Catwoman had to closely match the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, which is why she's got blonde hair. One thing you may not know is that they originally did intend for her to have a black costume, but there were concerns about how they would animate it on the dark backgrounds. So I think there's a sketch in Bruce Timm's Modern Masters book where he shows how it could be done, and the studios kind of agreed that no, it doesn't look that good, and they were kind of keen to get away from like the pervy fetish stuff from Batman Returns. Oh. So they went with the grey costume, but they still kept elements of the Catwoman costume.
Yeah, I really love it.
Like the elbow high leather gloves and the knee high leather boots.
Yeah. So I've written on here, and I really like this. An independent queen that gets what she wants with her agility and wits. Catwoman shows us that she likes diamonds and pearls, but beneath the catsuit, she has a heart of gold.
Yeah, for the most part. When you see her in the new Batman adventures, her personality is a little different. She's a lot more playful. Yeah. And she just doesn't care. She doesn't really have the emotional attachments apart from to Isis and I guess other cats.
Yeah. But that's
It's just how people change over time.
Yeah. I wish I could be like that. Without my overthinking and oversharing. All right, would you like to go on to your next one?
Yes, my next pick is Mercy Graves from Superman the Animated Series.
Mercy!
So, Lex Luthor's right-hand woman, she was voiced by, I believe it was Lisa Edelstein, or Edelstein. I'm never entirely certain how to say it. I'm going to say Steen, though. So I picked Mercy because she's another original creation for these shows. And she's kind of quite stoic and quiet in Superman the Animated Series, but she is very hands-on in some of the bad acts perpetrated by Lex Luthor. And by the time we get to Justice League, she ends up taking over LexCorp when Lex Luthor goes to prison. So she's gone from his like chauffeur right-hand woman to running an entire company.
As a woman should.
Yes, and I will always think of the episode World's Finest where after the Joker tries to kill Superman and Batman interrupts, Lex Luthor and Mercy like blow open the door to the Joker's warehouse, and Mercy and Harley Quinn get into a fight. And it's quite evenly matched, actually. They're both like beating the snot out of each other while Lex and the Joker have a conversation, but it's obviously not a nice conversation. There's a lingering threat from Lex Luthor there.
It always is.
But that always comes to my mind. And I think Mercy's pretty cool. She's quite a good fighter, as I was just saying. She's good with weapons. She's very sarcastic. Like in the Superman episode Identity Crisis, she's the one that names Bizarro.
Yeah.
Because when Bizarro realizes that he's a Superman clone and he's looking at himself in the mirror and he goes, "What am I?" She goes, "You're Bizarro." Like mocking him. But then he takes that as his name. He
runs with it.
Yeah.
Kind of tries to fly with it.
Yeah. But I think she's pretty cool. And again, it's an example of a strong female character.
Yeah.
Just being created from the ether.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you said that about, she's evenly matched against Harley Quinn, because I think... Well, obviously, they were both created, Harley and Mercy were both created for the shows, for the respected shows. But I really, there's so many similarities there. Like their agility, they're good with, like you said, good with weapons. And also although it's not exact, they're also partnered with like strong, quote unquote, I should say, strong men.
Yeah, although I think in Mercy's case, I don't think she's romantically interested.
Oh no, that's one of the things I was saying. Like it's similar but not exact.
Yeah, she's not. She's more drawn to the power.
Yeah, exactly.
That Luthor has that she can then share, and then when Luthor's taken off the table, she fills the void. She is the powerful person. Well, I have to imagine that she probably runs LexCorp a bit better than Lex did.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Less time spending billions trying to harvest kryptonite and building invulnerable metallic bodies to transfer convicts' brains into, She probably spent a lot of time investing in electric cars or something like that,
Yeah.
Something that will actually make money.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go on to my third.
Okay.
Which is Harley Quinn. What? So Harley Quinn, who was voiced by Arlene Sorkin. I was waiting for you to say it with me. Arlene Sorkin. I will say this. My all-time favorite lady character. There's so many reasons why I love this character because, again, I think I've said this before on one of our podcast episodes, but I am very much a non-neurotypical person. And I think when I was younger, one of the reasons I liked Harley so much is because you can clearly see there are symptoms there that I could relate to. And it was really nice seeing a lady character that she loved a man that probably didn't love her back as much, but she was still strong and she still did things on her own. And when she went off with Ivy, you're seeing two really strong characters getting out of a cycle. They get back in that cycle. But you see the attempts of breaking that cycle that they're in, and it's so realistic, and I am so happy that they created Harley Quinn. I will always and forever admire that character for the brilliant beauty. Mm-hmm. And I mean, mind, body, soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not alone in feeling that way and recognizing the strength of the character, because she's one of DC's most popular characters now.
Yeah.
You know, you see loads of little kids at Halloween dressed up as Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Before you say anything else.
Sure. It's
always black and red.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't like the redesigns.
No.
Stick with the original Jester costume. You can take the mask off if you want the hooded bit. That's fine. But come on, let's stick with at least the red and black theme. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, and I also like her origin story as well, because it's real. I mean, it's not real, but it feels real. When you read that the synopsis of Harley Quinn, it could be, I mean, obviously not going into a villain, but it could be, someone with strong mental health issues that you're just reading about.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the many reasons I love the DCAU, is because the writers, the voice actors, the directors, they all came together and made this wonderful universe that felt like a universe that I was in. Despite, the flying and stuff like that. But it felt like a universe that I could walk into and not feel like I was the different person, like I was when I was younger, or the good or the bad person. I was just, a person being saved by superheroes. And I guess that's why we have a podcast.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any favourite Harley Quinn episodes?
Well, Harley and Ivy. Mm-hmm. And
what's your favourite bit from Harley and Ivy?
When they're getting caught.
Oh, when no man can stop us. Or whatever. And then Renee Montoya shoots out the tires and goes, all right, ladies, stick 'em.
It has to be that, because you have like three amazing lady characters that it's just like, screw it. Mm-hmm. It has to be.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
Favorite Harley Quinn episodes? Oh, I like Harlequinade. I like Now, I famously don't like musicals, but when Harley Quinn has a little musical number singing "Say That We're Sweethearts Again," you could easily think that song was written with Harley Quinn in mind, but obviously it's not. That song's older than Batman. Mm-hmm. And so much of Arlene Sorkin went into Harley Quinn. So that song in particular is something that she had selected for an audition, and she was singing it in the car with Paul Dini. And Paul Dini thought, this is great, I'm going to write it into an episode. The Harleys Holiday, where Harley buys a dress and they forget to take the security tag off, so it sets an alarm off and the guard comes up to her. that happened in Arlene Sorkin's life. I think it was her friend had bought something while she was with her, and they thought that they were in trouble, but obviously they weren't. They just needed to take the tag off. And she told that story, and Paul Dini took that and embellished it and turned it into a whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So much of who Harley Quinn is comes directly from Arlene Sorkin. And, the character was originally intended as a one-and-done Joker's hench wench, I think is how they referred to her in the first script. But Arlene was so good and so memorable that they just kept bringing her back. And thank goodness they did.
Yeah. She has her ups and downs, but she does not give up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, again, younger me, as a not confident person, I mean, I'm still not that confident. I love seeing, because Harley goes through so much. That was very southern. Goes through so much, and she will never give up. Even when you look at the, I would say, Batman Beyond Harley Quinn, you can see that she might have stopped being Harley Quinn, but she never really stopped being Harley Quinn, because now she has,
the DD twins.
The DD twins, yes. And she could probably still kick some ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go to my next pick. Maybe another left field one here, but I don't care. Annie from Growing Pains.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this one breaks my heart every time I watch it. Oh, it brings me to tears. It's like, oh, every time I it's relevant to edit in that clip of her being consumed by Clayface. Oh, it makes my heart sink, and I just sit there for like 5 minutes afterwards going, oh, I'm really sad now. I don't want to keep doing this. But that's just indicative of how well written it was. So Annie is a little girl that's lost in Gotham City, wandering the streets in the middle of the night, and she gets set upon by a gang of bikers who, I mean, it's obvious to an adult what they intend to do to her, but they don't explicitly say it. They just have them say stuff like, what's a cutie like you doing around here? And it's just, it's so awful. So I'm surprised they got away with including that, because it's pretty obvious what they had in mind. But Robin rescues her and beats up the bikers. But Annie still runs away. She sees a police car and runs in the opposite direction from them, indicating that she's in trouble. And Robin, obviously, she's had an impact on him, and he keeps an eye out for her, and he spots her at, I believe it's a bus station, while he's being driven home by Alfred, and he just gets out of the car and goes to talk to her. And it turns out she's being followed by this mysterious man, who just so happens to be the same mysterious man that has been robbing shops and terrorizing people and stealing money that Batman is looking for. And he turns up and he says, he claims to be her father, and says that she has got to come home with him right now. And Robin can see from her terrified reaction that she should not be going with him. And he tries to fight him off, but the guy is too strong. Batman turns up, and the man runs away at the sight of Batman. He manages to escape. Annie's disappeared again. But she finds Robin later on, and they team up together to try and find out what's happened to her, because she's amnesiac. She can't remember anything. Even the name Annie is a name that Robin gives her after seeing a little girl holding an Orphan Annie doll, or something that looks like an Orphan Annie doll. And they end up back at a chemical factory, where it's revealed that the man that has been following her is in fact Clayface.
Yeah.
And Annie is a little piece of him that broke off and gained sentience and wandered off. And all he wants is for the little piece of him to come back. But doing so will erase her and kill her.
Yeah.
And Robin refuses to let her do that. I'm getting a bit teary talking about this now. Oh. He won't let her do it. He's basically puts himself up to be sacrificed by Clayface, to be killed by Clayface, I should say. But Annie sees her friend in trouble and doesn't want him to die. So she turns around, comes back, and dives into Clayface to give him what he wants so that he'll leave Robin alone. And she dies. Oh. Now, there are people that will argue that, she was never alive in the first place, so she can't possibly die.
She was alive in our hearts.
Yeah, no, she was alive. She was alive. I mean, there's this whole. It is an allegory for child abuse.
Yeah.
It is also an allegory for, I think, for trans people, because so the question, whenever anyone challenges me on this, they go, "That's BS. How dare you?" Some people have said that trans people didn't exist in the 90s, which really, really boils my vinegar. Yeah, but anyway, if that's the case, why did that little piece of Clayface turn into a girl? Why wasn't it a little boy? That's the question. Answer that. They can't. Now, some people can say that, Annie represents his hopefulness and his innocence, his purity. That's what he wants to get back. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a fair enough argument. But I think the trans allegory works just as well. And it's... You could argue that it's a part of Clayface that won't accept who he is and wants that part of him to be erased. You could look at it as being families not accepting of trans people in their families and wanting them to conform with their established norms and, in effect, raise them. And I like that analogy. I think it's very good. It encourages empathy for marginalised people.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention who voiced Annie. She was Helga in Hey Arnold. What was her name? Francesca something. Francesca...
I've never watched Hey Arnold.
You never watched it? Okay.
No.
Oh, I remember it being a good show. Francesca Marie Smith. That was her name. Oh. And she does a very good job. Very good job.
Is she in a few different cartoons?
Oh, I imagine she is. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the only time Annie appears in the show, so she's not like a massive significant character, but it had a big impact on me.
Yeah, but the impact is big.
And just above my desk where we're recording here, I've got one of George Calsudas's new Batman Adventures prints, and it's the Growing Pains one. Very anime inspired art style here in George's print, and the episode itself, because it was actually animated by Studio Ghibli of all studios. It was contracted out to TMS. TMS didn't have the time to do it, so they roped in staff from Studio Ghibli. In fact, the TMS supervisor went to Studio Ghibli and made the episode there, according to a great video by a dude named Steven. It's called Ghibli's Batman, or Ghibli's Batman, however you say it. So watch that if you haven't already. It's really fascinating stuff.
Word. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say on Annie because I might just start crying.
Yeah, I think Luke said it all.
Story of my life.
Yes. Shut up.
All right, over to you, Mary.
All right, so I can't do one of these lists of my fair ladies of the DCAU without talking about my gal Hot Girl.
Another good one.
So, Hot Girl was voiced by Maria Canals Beira. I'm probably butchering that name, but she's wonderful. I love that they gave Hot Girl kind of a Hispanic vibe. Because back then, there wasn't a lot of shows that, for that young of an audience, that showed a great Hispanic character that was like saving the world. Again, kicking ass, taking names, saving the world, going and having a glup?
A glup?
A glup? What is the name of the drink? I always call it a glup. I know it's not a glup.
A slurp?
Slurp, yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever the drink is that her and John have on that planet, and then they start fighting.
Oh, I can't remember. I'm sorry. Someone will correct us. Probably Michael.
Hot Girl was Shiera Hull.
Mm-hmm.
I love that name. Like, love it. Our Thanagarian badass that shows us that women can be anything that they want to be. And even people we don't agree with, we can still like. And the reason I say this is because of the whole love triangle situation. I'm not one of those people that like people that cheat on people and whatever and all of that. But I don't really agree with that particular storyline, if I'm being honest, but still love it. Still love her character. And the fact that it shows in the latest season of Justice League Unlimited, it shows the human behind the character, because she is trying to make up for the mistakes that she thinks she's made. And I think being able to show that in a cartoon character in a great way is really hard. And the voice actress that played Hot Girl, I honestly, like, you can tell, even if you weren't actually, if you were just doing something and just had the show on in the background, you could still tell what type of face that Shayera was pulling.
Mm-hmm.
Because that voice actress was just ace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like her unconventional friendship with Solomon Grundy.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, no, and then Grundy died. Oh.
I have to admit something. I cried when I saw that.
It's like when Grundy's laying there dying and he says, Does Grundy have a soul?
Oh.
And she's holding his hand crying and she goes, I don't. Yes, you do. Of course you do.
Oh.
And it's made all the worse when he gets resurrected and he's like a mindless animal. He still obviously recognizes them, but
Yeah.
he's just completely out of control and she has to euthanize him with her mace, which I hope she only hit him once, but I have a feeling she probably had to like pound his head in a couple of times, which is just all the more worse. Oh, I love it so much. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Hot Girl is... You know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, even in my last character. These characters that we're talking about today are the characters that I feel that I looked up to. Even though I started watching this in my early 20s. I can look up to them and say, wow, I still can't believe this was a cartoon. Because these characters have taught me so much. And, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why people are still talking about these shows. You know, in Beatas's case, over 30 years later,
Mm-hmm.
Batman Beyond 25 years, Justice League 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they are so good and well written, and there's a real artistry to it, not just in the scripts, but in the actual animation of the show itself. You can tell these people that worked on it genuinely get the characters. They know why these characters have endured for so long, and they distill it down to its absolute best elements.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the crap and just bring out these shining, perfect examples of all of these characters.
Yeah. And none of these characters are written to be perfect.
No.
And I, as someone who wasn't a big fan of, I mean, I was a big fan of Barbie. Let's be real, because I could imagine Barbie, you know, being the CEO of everything. But in terms of cartoons, I did not care for that. There's always a happy ending. I mean, I like things like Rugrats and stuff like that, which I haven't watched all of them. But I even when I was so young, I hated the fact that all of these cartoons had just every episode was a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the DCAU, it's not a happy ending. It's very, for lack of better words, it's very realistic in terms of how people end up feeling. And that says a lot about, I think it says a lot about the people who wrote, directed, and voice acted in this, because it feels like they've taken bits of their life and put it into this. And I just am so appreciative of that. Mm-hmm. And Hot Girl, again, we love having a character that isn't just my shade of foundation.
Yeah. So should we do like a couple of quick honourable mentions before we talk about our final pick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go on then. I know you've got one you want to talk about.
Maggie.
So this is Maggie, Alfred's girlfriend, Maggie from Eternal Youth.
Yeah.
She's a feisty old lady.
Yes.
Yeah, she was pretty cool. It's a shame she was only in one episode.
I know.
I can see why she didn't quite fit with perhaps some of the other stories.
You see Alfred in this, like, very, like, English style, like, doesn't say much unless he has something to say, and doesn't have to fill the room up with his own conversation or something. And then you have Maggie, who, you know, if you were sitting next to at the Denny's, and she ordered the same thing, she'd explain to you why she ordered it, and then y'all would end up having a whole conversation for 3 hours. And then you would end up fighting at the end of it.
They say that opposites attract. And
yeah.
They very much are opposites, energetically, I mean.
Yeah, I just love the fact that Alfred had somebody.
Mm-hmm. So I think an obvious one to call out is Supergirl from Superman the Animated
Supergirl.
Series. I mean, to be honest, I don't love Supergirl, but I think she was well done in this show. The only thing that I think is kind of weird is that DC mandated that Superman should be the only Kryptonian, so she came from, I want to say what's the planet called? Argon? Something like that? I'm probably getting that wrong. But she was very deliberately not quite Kryptonian, but basically Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked her design with the white crop top and the blue, I guess it's a skirt, isn't it? Or is she wearing shorts? Can't quite remember. I think they're shorts, aren't they? Little.
I can't remember.
Anyway, I like the design. Well done, Bruce Timm, if you're listening. He's not listening. It's fine.
I like the design, too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there are probably like, oh my god, you're so sexist. And
the thing I liked was that she had white gloves as well.
Yeah, like it's a cartoon about superheroes, and if you have a problem with the costume she's wearing, go away.
I would also give a shout out to Huntress and her bizarre relationship with the Question. Excellent stuff. Favorite line from, I think it's from Double Date. I could be mistaken, but she's like, so what are you wearing? And he goes, blue overcoat, orange socks.
We cannot forget, arguably, the two most important women in this entire universe, who brought us two of the most important men in this universe, the Marthas. Yeah,
Martha Wayne and Martha Kent.
Yeah. Don't hear a lot of... I mean, you hear a lot about Martha Kent, but you don't know a ton about her, but...
At least she gets to speak. Martha Wayne, she only speaks in a Dream episode.
Yeah. But you get the love, the care, the devotion, the loyalty, everything you can get from those characters. And especially Martha Kent, because... Wowee, I would have loved to have Martha Kent as a grandma or a mama. Because you just know. I mean, come on. Superman ended up that way, not just because of, the Kryptonian gene, but also because he was...
The way he was raised by his parents.
Yeah, he was raised by the Kents. Yeah. And I love that.
So I'm going to go on to my final choice now.
I don't know who it is.
You do.
Do I? Did I write it down?
Yeah, you did. It's your handwriting.
Oh, yeah, I did. I don't remember who it is then.
It's Andrea Beaumont. Phantasm.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And I've just realised, looking at this list that I put together that Mary wrote down, so I guess I dictated, they're all original characters for the series. Yeah, they weren't in any of the comic books before, so they're all brand new creations. Yeah. And I would argue that Andrea Beaumont is the most significant character in the entire DC universe, because if she hadn't ran away... she would have married Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne would not have become Batman. Mm-hmm. Batman saves the universe. The entire universe in Once and Future Thing. Mm-hmm. The only reason why the Justice League clued into what Kronos is doing is because Kronos tries to steal Batman's utility belt. And Batman catches him in the act and goes after him. So basically, Andrea Beaumont, refusing to marry Bruce Wayne and leaving him and breaking his heart, saved the universe.
Like most women do.
Well, yeah, indirectly, all women save the universe.
It sounds like I'm one of those people that just like hate men and only like women. It's not completely wrong, okay? I'm not. Okay, let's say this. It's not completely wrong. It's just, I was born in the 80s, and I was raised by my grandparents, who taught me that women and men, there's only one difference between them, is men get treated better by other people. And you know, going back to the cartoons and everything, or animated series that we're talking about, I don't feel like that message is like there. I feel that like they think that just like it should be, women can do the same things that men can.
Yeah, and this is evident by Andrea, who becomes the Phantasm.
Exactly.
Who is... She's kind of similar to Batman. She's not as well trained and not as capable in terms of fighting, but she is excellent at the art of misdirection and theatrical stuff. She's very good at frightening people. And when they're frightened, they make silly mistakes, which she then capitalizes on.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up is I was talking with Kevin Altieri recently about the ending of Mask of the Phantasm, and he said in his mind, Andrea stopped being the Phantasm once her revenge was over. She did not become an assassin. She moved on with her life. That's how she moved on, by killing those people and giving up on Bruce. And that's why she left that photograph in the necklace, or in the locket, I suppose, in the Batcave. That locket symbolized everything she was holding on to in their past. And by leaving it behind, that was her moving on. Now, Paul Dini obviously has written her as an assassin for hire. And she's appeared in the tie-in comics, and she shows up in Justice League Unlimited's epilogue as an assassin in the future. But I kind of prefer the idea that was it. She was gone. She moved on with her life, and she let go of everything.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to stop. Mary, your final choice.
How could I possibly do an Our Fair Lady list without talking about the one, the only, the beautiful, the amazing Lois Lane, voiced by Dana Delaney. Oh, I love Dana Delaney so much. Like, when she was on Desperate Housewives, I had missed the first couple of episodes, or the first couple of seasons of that, and then I didn't know that she was going to be on it. And when I was actually doing something in the kitchen back in Oklahoma, and I was doing something, probably getting a drink of water or something, and then I hear her voice, and I'm like, Lois! Because although I didn't watch Superman until later in life, I knew that she was the Lois Lane. I'll read out what I have written here. So, Lois Lane, no nickname needed for this outstanding journalist. Lois is truly a woman I can say I want to be when I grow up.
Me too.
She's got the job, she's got the partner, and the best part of Lois Lane is that outrageously large bed.
Yes. Yes, she does have a massive bed that I'm envious of, but as we all know, no matter how... it's like an Olympic pool size bed,
yes.
So we're going to call it the Olympic bed.
Yeah.
We all know that no matter how big that bed is, somehow Mary would take up all of the bed apart from about 1%, where I'll be just laying on the corner, desperately trying to get some of that massive sheet on me.
Then Gilgamesh will be on top of you on your hip.
Yeah, so I get like a fraction of the bed to share with the cat.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is Lois Lane's superpower?
An unending faith in herself.
Yes, and her tenacity.
Yes.
That's one thing that I've had to say about her is...
Yeah, she is tenacious.
Yeah, and when I don't say boyfriend. I don't say like whatever, because I believe that Superman and Lois Lane have a partnership rather than a boyfriend-girlfriend oh my God, he's got to buy me roses, like, every time he does something wrong. It's like, no, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get over it. I'm going to go to work. You're going to x-ray something, and bam, we're done. So, yeah, I think it shows a good relationship.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that in Superman the Animated Series, they didn't even kiss until the final episode. So they spent most of the season, or I should say series, multiple series, kind of in a, are they, aren't they? They kind of are, but they kind of aren't, but they definitely are. But they're not, but they kind of are.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's more of a partnership. And, Lois Lane is... like I said, I want to be her when I grow up, and... #1 journalist, in my opinion. Peter Jennings, who?
Yeah, Lois Lane all the way.
Yeah. And, you have to have a strong woman to deal with someone like Superman.
Yes.
That is all.
That is all. Yeah. So, it's been a long one. This is going to be a long episode, I'm afraid. So we're going to move on to your comments and questions from last time. So last time we were talking about Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. But just before we do that, long-time listener Screen Wiper has sent in a sample of pictures of his chicken Blue. Now, if you've been following the Blue saga, Blue had been very unwell, but Blue is recovering now. And Screen Wiper has very kindly sent Mary and I a whole bunch of photographs of his whole bunch of chickens. So Mary's going to actually look at them live so you can get her real, authentic reaction. Open it up, Mary. Go.
Oh, look at that. Look at those tail feathers. Look at those tail feathers. Oh my God, I love chickens. Oh, Blue. Oh, look at them legs.
This is going to be riveting listening for people. I probably won't include the pictures of the birds in the podcast just because, without getting permission from Screen Wiper. Screen Wiper, if you're okay with it, just let us know in a comment, and perhaps I'll just put them in during next time's episode.
Oh, those eyes are striking.
Right.
No, I'm looking at these. You shush. Oh, look at those. Look at them toes. Talons, toes. Oh, I love bird talons.
Comments from the last episode. New name, Zachy Burke. Hello, Zachy Burke. With a quote from the episode, or I should say the film. And his quote is, "Flagpole."
Can you say that again?
Flagpole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's the bit where Terry's being choked by Bonk and he goes, "Flagpole." And he's like, "What?" Flagpole. And he gets hit by the flagpole. Yeah, it's very good. Excellent quote. Thank you, Zachy Burke, for sending that along.
Thank you, Zach.
Zehanaut10 also comes back with a quote. Says, like Bruce said to Terry when Terry asked if the Joker was the biggest villain, it wasn't a popularity contest. He was a psychopath, a monster.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. But I think the reason why I think the Joker was like the biggest one, in my opinion, is because of Mark Hamill.
Oh.
Is it the way that he portrayed the Joker?
Yeah.
But otherwise, yes, he's a psychopath, and I agree with you.
Yes. So Lowell Lucas Jr., I'm glad you guys love how Mark Hamill did his portrayal in Return of the Joker. Did you know, according to the commentary, they had to dial back his jokerness? Most of the time, Mark had to subdue his antics and hysterical laughter until the scene where he interrupts himself with, "I almost bust a gut. Whew, see you around, kid." At that point, the ADR director said, "Go ahead, Mark, let out that laugh." And boy, did he.
Iconic.
Oh, and he also adds, "Just wanted to thank you for the awesome podcast and for reading my comments. Just to share, my name is pronounced Lowell." Did I say it right earlier? Did I say Lowell?
I wasn't listening to Luke. I was still looking at pictures of Blue.
Yeah, it's the story of my life. And I love your show. Keep up the great work, you two. Thank you very much, Lowell. Lowell.
Well,
Lowell.
thank you. Thank you for listening. And thank you for commenting. Because without you guys, I wouldn't have any comments.
Yeah, we probably would have stopped doing this if nobody listened. Hello, this is Luke of the Future chiming in to let you know that for some reason the latter half of our recording was completely corrupted. good old garage band, living up to its name as a piece of crap. So I've got to re-record the comments. Unfortunately, Mary's not available now, but I will try to relay her reactions to these comments as best I can. So, starting off with the virtuous collector, I never understood what was so controversial about the Killing Joke ending. Batman catches the Joker after a heinous crime and offers him rehabilitation instead of punishment. Joker tells Batman a joke about two guys and a flashlight. Batman realises exactly what Joker means, as it means that people, especially when they're projecting themselves as being trustworthy and good, are usually not. People will disappoint you when you need them the most. Hence why Joker responds to this by dressing as a clown and Batman dressing as a vampire. Both realise how messed up the world is and how they usually share some commonality, and both know the futility of their relationship. Kind of like how the ending of The Thing, where both heroes know they're screwed, hence opting to share a drink. Batman and Joker share a laugh. And as for why the Joker stopped laughing, isn't because he was strangled, it's because he's the Joker and Batman is laughing more than him. Kind of like, okay, that's enough. Warhawk Beyond, considering the return of the Joker was the sole Batman Beyond animated movie, it could very well be the best thing to ever come out of that show's run. The story was dark and epic and emotional, and an incredible mystery surrounding the circumstances of how the Joker is still around in the future. Everything about it packed a monster punch, and the flashbacks explaining what happened in the final battle between Batman and the Joker, for me, was the perfect way to bridge BTS to Batman Beyond. To learn what really happened to Tim Drake was horrifying and so sad. Overall, one of the best DC animated movies and easily in my top 3 Batman animated movies. Great in-depth retrospective on this classic. Thank you for sharing. Next, I have Phantasm. This film, along with the Batman-Superman movie and The Mask of the Phantasm, is the thing that has been burnt into my memory forever. I have watched the film probably more than anything else in the entire DCAU. When I was younger, I would try to recite the entire film and was often successful. I've said it in the past, but I will continue to say it forever. In my opinion, this film is Mark Hamill's best and most terrifying performance as the Joker. Since you'll be reading this comment when talking about the ladies of the DCAU, as Mary suggested, a great suggestion by the way, I would like to say what my favourites are. Before I do so, just wanted to say hello to Mary because I usually talk with Luke. Also, feel free to call me by my name Aris, as my account name may be a mouthful. So anyway, my favourite of the ladies in the DCAU are, in no particular order, Wonder Woman. Susan Eisenberg really helped give the character a soft and gentle personality, but if it came down to it, she can command the entire room. Also, I know that a lot of people know it is like to give Diana an accent to make her sound more Greek. I know Tom King has said that he writes it that way, but as a Greek person I can say that I'm fine without it, and in fact I prefer her without it. TNBA, Barbara Gordon at number 2. Barbara's determination and intelligence really made the character stand out for me. When I was younger, I especially loved how Tara Strong portrayed all these elements of the character, while still having her show her own unique quirks. Tara to me is cemented as the best and most recognisable voice of Batgirl. She brought an energy that I always felt was missing prior to her coming along to voice the role. Admittedly, I never quite loved Barbara in Batman Beyond. It's not that I didn't think she was a good character, but never quite clicked with me as Barbara. Number 3, Lois Lane. Of course, I could never make a list about this subject without mentioning her. Her personality, sarcasm and determination for the truth is really amplified by Dana Delaney's amazing performances. I do think it was a missed opportunity that we never had Lois finding out Clark is Superman in the DCAU. I'm really hopeful to see what Rachel Brosnahan does with the character. Number 4, Hawkgirl. Talk about having convoluted comic origins, similar to quite a few Batman villains in the DCAU, and to a bigger degree Brainiac. In my opinion, Shayera is one of the best examples of taking the best elements about them from the comics and reimagining them for the better. She really felt like a fierce warrior woman, but distinctly different from Wonder Woman. Her internal conflict of her loyalty to Thanagar and Earth was one of the most compelling arcs in the DCAU. Number 5 is Huntress. Her motivations for revenge was quite nicely explored, and also her relationship with the Question just made me smile. 6, Black Canary, one of my favourite comic book characters, and I thought she really well adapted in the DCAU, as well as what is one of the best relationships in comic book history, which is Green Arrow and Black Canary. Number 7, Zatanna. Despite not many appearances, she always made an impression on me, and the magic side of the DCAU has always intrigued me. I also love the pairing of her and John Constantine. They established in the New 52. Side note, as a Brit, Luke, how do you pronounce Constantine? Well, I would have said Constantine, but they've said Constantine, so I will pronounce his name that way. Number 8, Harley Quinn, for all the obvious reasons that have been talked to death about, even though in more recent years I think she's become quite overused. 9, Supergirl. Admittedly, I still choose to ignore the whole thing about her being from the planet Argo instead of Krypton, but I don't hold that against the writer since it was a mandate from DC Comics. And number 10, Mercy Graves. As I told Luke, the Batman-Superman movie was my very first exposure to anything comic book related, so when I revisit things that involve Lex Luthor prior to Mercy's inclusion in the comics, it's like something is missing, and as if the supporting cast is incomplete. Seriously, James Gunn, I love your work and can't wait to see what you do with your DCU. But why Eve Tessmacher? Despite me loving the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie, I always thought Tessmacher, along with Otis, were by far the worst characters in the film and never have found them amusing. Still hopeful Mercy pops up in the films as well in the future. Okay, and next we have Elfin Lied. Those new McFarlane New Adventures figures are re-releases of a 2010 DC Direct line that Todd bought the old license to. Here's hoping he gives us a Build-A-Figure Mr. Freeze or Scarecrow or something with Wave 2. Filmatic Pictures, that's a new name. I don't think you've commented before, and apologies if you have. I'm a forgetful old man now. A great movie that somehow manages to be an equally character-enriching story for Terry and Bruce. It still feels like a Batman Beyond movie, despite putting so much focus into bridging the BTAS and Batman Beyond worlds. As a kid, I thought the censored cut was already intense, but the original version would never be directed towards kids now, especially when you look at the deleted Arkham scene they storyboarded. Wish they had the balls to make as heavy of original stories as they used to, take the primary flaws authentic to the character and put them through something legitimately fresh that still challenges the lore faithfully. Mask of the Phantasm did this well too. I love the newer animated Batman movies, but the story choices they make are so odd. Rip a comic everyone loves to 75% accuracy, then add extraneous fluff or twists that completely derail the original story. Well, I'm actually quite a supporter of them changing these stories, because if they were just going to adapt them wholesale, what's the point in doing that? Why don't you just make people read the comics instead? And yeah, okay, I know it's because people don't like to read. So I commend them for trying to do something different, even if it doesn't always hit the mark. David Carney. Hello, David Carney. Thank you for coming back. I just got Batman Beyond on DVD and Return of the Joker is on it. Oh, excellent. I agree with both of you regarding Mark Hamill's Joker. It's more scary and evil in tone. I love the Arkham version of Joker as well. Mark Hamill's Joker is the best ever. Thank you for reading my comment. You're welcome, and I've just read this one as well, so hopefully you're doubly pleased, eh? Jack Toma. I always just assumed Joker had a more gravelly voice in the Arkham series as a result of Mark Hamill just having gotten older and his voice audibly changed. The Joker voice I do for my voice acting videos are heavily Hamill inspired, and it's easier to do the Arkham voice with that more gravelly voice giving you something to latch on to. Yes, I mean, I would look at some of the other series he's voiced the Joker in, particularly recently, things like Justice League Action, where he delivers another completely distinct voice. And if you see any of his panel appearances where he has performed as the Joker, sometimes you notice he does like a BTAS style Joker that's a bit lighter, a bit more whimsical, I'd say. And then sometimes he does the darker, more sinister Joker that we see in Return of the Joker and the Arkham series. Okay, so another returning commenter, Bookworm, how are you doing? For favourite female DCAU characters, I think mine are Black Canary, Huntress and Lois Lane. I love DCAU's Lois' headstrong personality, cleverness and determination. DCAU, Black Canary and Huntress were my first experiences with these characters. I appreciate JLU for introducing me to these incredibly cool characters. Side note, if you wind up doing a DCAU episode on couples, my personal favourite couple is Huntress and Question. Specifically because of that one scene in JLU where they're just having a casual conversation while Question is hacking a government computer and Huntress beating up all the guards. Also, honourable mention to Big Barda and Mr. Miracle because their dynamic is really sweet even if they don't see a lot of it in the show. Those are some good suggestions, thank you. And when we originally recorded this comment, Mary did a little shriek and went, how does he know what we're talking about next week? Moving on to Defuxa Plays. Really like the idea of discussing what characters would I like to see touched on in Batman Beyond. I'll exclude Gear since he was given a slight nod and an old Static had not one but two appearances, if you could Justice League. I think a villain I would like to see covered a bit more is the Penguin. Out of all of the Batman villains, he had the highest probability of getting to an old age without some crippling issues, Bane or Mr. Freeze being references, and perhaps could be an interesting character. And of all the heroes, there are essentially two which I think need to be covered, and of those two, I think the bigger one is likely Shayera Hall. We do get the brief comment from Old Static about when Shayera is pregnant, but it would be nice to see the story behind it. Also, as an additional character to note, it might be nice to get some more story on Lois Lane, a character who knows Bruce Wayne is Batman, Superman's love interest, and perhaps more. Likely one of the most important side characters to learn what happened to. Yeah, I agree completely. Next we have David Betas. So David is one of my channel members. He's got a little green icon next to his username indicating he's one of my people. So, hey, David, how you doing? So, David says, recently I had a wander deep into the Batcave, a different take on Falling Down the Rabbit Hole, by reading what I can on BTAS. Currently reading The Man Who Watched Batman by Ken Johnson. I would like to recommend a book by Professor Joe Sutcliffe Sanders, appropriately titled Batman the Animated Series, published in April 2021. The book explores the visuals of the show, good wealthy person Bruce Wayne in the backdrop of bad wealthy people like Roland Daggett, and Harley Quinn and her role in the making of BTAS successful. On the off chance you've read those books, what are your thoughts? So, I have read those books, actually. I've mentioned before that I had a craving for some analysis of these cartoons because I think they're wonderful. And it's part of the reason why I started doing this YouTube channel, because nobody else was going into as much detail in BTAS as much as I would like them to. So I just figured I'd do it myself. And it seems to be going quite well. At least you guys seem to enjoy it anyway, so that's nice. Regarding The Man Who Watched Batman by Ken Johnson, I was a little disappointed with those books because it was mostly recounting the events of the episodes with a little tiny bit of analysis, and I would prefer it to be the other way around. But he's very clearly enthusiastic, and I applaud his efforts. The other book, Batman the Animated Series by Professor Joe Sutcliffe Sanders, yeah, that's another good book. That one is very analytical, and I really enjoyed it. I particularly enjoyed the section talking about the inspiration. I believe it's called Cruise Liner Deco rather than Art Deco. On BTAS, it's a slight distinction to make, but apparently that is what people like Ted Blackman and Eric Radomski were most influenced by when designing the world of Batman the Animated Series, and I can really see it. It's really great. And I recommend anyone else listening to this reads the book. It's on Amazon. It wasn't very expensive, if I remember rightly. So yeah, check it out if you get the chance. Okay, Big Mikey P's back with his comment, Michael Andre Parlon. To be frank, pre-NBA Batman does a lot more punching in the tie-in comics. Not even the Riddler could have been exempt from that. Much as I would want Batman to have killed the Joker in the Killing Joke comic, there's always the tactful side in me that prefers that it ends subtly, with Batman simply punching the fool's lights out and breathingly finish the inhumane charade once and for all. Now, it's what should come after that begs me the question as to whether the events are all worth it to the parties involved in the Killing Joke's canon, whatever that may be. I would love to see an interquel, preferably a comic miniseries, since her current voice actress just can't nail the unique Arlene Sorkin feel and personality on Harley and Quinn's ill fared between Joker's death on what may be the year 2007 and her sobered up return in the implied year 2042. Also, her movie appearances not wearing black and red makes sense in a I don't want to wear this evil crap anymore perspective as her, and in case she really was on the Suicide Squad covert op, she may have permanently ditched her Harley Quinn persona and become more cold and pragmatic. No jokes allowed, and awesomely turned into Gunslinger Girl. At least until the Batman Arkham series should be a quadrilogy. Origins is also a must-play title, even if it should be deemed as a glorified prequel expansion pack for City. Gotta love Mook interactions. The aforementioned Arkham games nail those as well before the inevitable XP farming beatdowns. Some bits of the Batman Beyond post-Volume 2 comics should be DCAU canon though, like Dick Grayson's still strong resentment against Bruce Wayne, and also that cool cyber eye of his creating after a dramatic scarring Nightwing mission. Who knows, maybe said mission may have happened on the unseen 23 or so issues of the Batman Adventures 2003 comic featuring Black Mask, Plastic Man, the Phantasm, and Victoria Beaumont as the elusive Red Hood and secretive wife/mother to Warren and Derek Powers, respectively. Pertaining to the canonicity of Volume 1 and 2 Beta comics, I'm actually trying to catch up on the whole lot of DCAU tie-in comics, so to check on which can fit in canon and which won't, demanding on time and money, I know, but if it means helping out this channel and the Watchtower database in some ways... Said this a bunch of times, but honestly, am I the only one convinced that the show ended inconclusively because the creative team simply ran out of Schway ideas and just accepted moving on to Justice League? Not all too egregious cancellations. Just a little note there on Bob Goodman saying that they had plenty of ideas for the next season and were expecting it to be extended, but the studio mandated they work on something else. At least that's his recollection. You never know, maybe they did just run out of ideas and they're trying to save face. Who knows? Continuing Michael's comment, previously finished up on a Static Shock rewatch, and she's also the villainous Karen Roberts Omnara in the Season 4 Episode 12 episode Kidnapped. Oh, and do watch The Emperor's New Groove, you two, you won't regret it. Pat Labor is actually short for patrol labour, so the latter word is more like going into labour. Also, even I can't exactly know how to correct you on pronouncing Mushishi. You're better off finding Japanese audio footage of the show for that. Believe me, even after watching Firewalk with Me, Seeing the rest of Twin Peaks will still make you confused, and God forbid how one will fare with the third season afterwards. Carl McLachlan is Superman in Justice League The New Frontier and is also the bus driver in the final episode of Gravity Falls. That should be useful trivia for you guys. Thought you were referring to the Oklahoma State Fair incident, Mary. Anywho, my pick for the Batman case should be the Alcatraz escapees. Two-Face would have been a fine Batman Beyond returnee, especially if he's trying to redeem himself. Bonus if he connects with how the Joker's member Terminal came to be in the Beta-led tie-in comics. Please, no Deathstroke for the DCAU. Which Poison Ivy is in the Amazon, though, if one thinks of a surprise twist from the Batman Adventures 2003 comics? I'm surprised how Mary's Harley suggested is similar to mine in the beginning of this comment, minus the Suicide Squad grim grittiness. Such a heartwarming tale would be a fine follow-up on my tale too, focusing on after Harleen's retirement from the squad. You're lucky to have wild foxes around. My home place is full of neighbourly dogs and cats, plus some wild wandering chickens that may or may not be directly descended from some chickens that were once owned, yet carelessly let loose from our coop. The love stories can be a bit rough, but yeah, bring on the mostly sassy butt-kicking lasses and ladies. Thank you, Michael. That was a long comment as ever, but you took the time to write it, so I'm going to take the time to read it. R083RT says, as much as I think this is a top performance from Mark Hamill's Joker, I also think Dean Stockwell deserves some credit here. Dean does a good job playing both a guy who's been through stuff and wants to live a normal life, but also Joker's mask in the final battle. In fact, Dean Stockwell does a good job mimicking Mark's mannerisms that I needed to double take and make sure it wasn't Mark doing a different voice. I especially found it creepy when the Joker switched to Tim's voice in the middle of his monologue. Yes, that was Dean Stockwell's excellent. He's always been very good in pretty much everything he's been in. Basement from Mars 1963. Hey, how are you doing? It's been pointed out a few times already by other people, but out of all Batman-related media, BTAS and Beyond really does have the perfect character arc for the character. With him starting out as young and idealistic, over time he becomes more cynical and harder, and eventually it culminates in this horrible tragedy, which makes him drive away all his allies and everyone he cared about. And then he gets to the point where he's had to give up being Batman because his declining health becomes too much, and causes him to break his rules about guns and almost kills a goon. And then for the next 40 years he lives by himself as a bitter old man until he gets his redemption, when Terry takes up the mantle and manages to leave a lasting legacy and sees that in the end it wasn't all for nothing. It's altogether just the best Batman story, and I know some people take issue with how much of a downer it leaves the original series on, but I can't see how it would be any other way for him. Of course it was going to end on a sad note, because Bruce by his very nature will never stop being Batman until he dies or is physically unable to continue. He doesn't give up and retire somewhere, his mission will never be over, and he'll never truly be happy. Batman Beyond is as close to a happy conclusion his story will get, because he's got a successor to carry on his work, and Gotham will always have its protector. It's beautifully bittersweet. Very well said, I agree. RDP16 rules. Hey, how you doing? Nice of you to come back and leave another comment. So, what do you say here? You say, hi, Luke and Mary. So, Mary did say hello during our original recording. It's just me here now, unfortunately, but I will do my best to answer on her behalf. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is still one of my top 10 DC movies, possibly 10 superhero movies. This film was so dark, and yet it ends on a hopeful note. I'm glad that it gets the full podcast focus. The decision to put a lot of focus on the Joker and gang is a brilliant one. They were always kind of just cannon fodder, but this movie made them seem like real teens caught up in a bad situation, especially since the Dee-Dees, who nearly put Terry in hot water with his girlfriend, were played by teen idol Melissa Joan Hart. Kind of makes me wish she did more voiceover work. She seemed to have fun playing a pair of villains. It makes me wonder if the idea of the twins as a baddie were added as some sort of commentary on the different pair of twins. Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, yeah, you never know. The design being a clear shout out to the twins Raggedy Ann and Andy was not missed on me either. The Joker is deliciously terrifying in this film. He has a new lease on life and revels in the ability to kill without consequences. Well outside of the obvious threat of Batman. The flashback was just as scary and brutal. How scary is that scene where he reveals how he brainwashed Tim Drake? God, it was so affecting that it is directly recreated in the Batman Who Laughs comic run. Plus, this is one of the few times that Terry sees Bruce scared. That's a rarity and adds importance to the threat of the Joker. Barbara coming in to tell Terry what had really happened just compounds the danger. That's why it's just so thrilling to see Terry not only succeed, but very nearly embarrass the Joker with how well he does in the fight. Now to address the elephant in the room. This also serves as the first of my #TotallyShway podcast questions. How do you feel about the follow-up comics where it's revealed that Batgirl and Batman had a relationship and almost had a child? If Batman didn't know Barbara for half of her life and wasn't competing with Nightwing for her feelings, I might appreciate it as a cautionary tale. This storyline and its direct reference to the Killing Joke film are, in my opinion, wholly unnecessary. What was Bruce Timm thinking? Well, first of all, Bruce Timm had nothing to do with those tie-in comics. In fact, nobody working on these shows had anything to do with those comics, and I kind of discard them. I don't object to Batman and Batgirl having a relationship so long as it is led by Batgirl. You know, she's the one pursuing it. They do make references in the episode Batgirl Returns of BTAS, where she has that dream about kissing Batman and doesn't seem at all fazed by it. And then in the 60s comics, Batgirl was kind of seen as a... how can I put it? A potential love interest for Batman, and Catwoman got jealous of her and came out of retirement to beat her up for moving in on her turf. Second question, on to less creepy pairings. What do you two feel about Hawkman of Batman Beyond's timeline? It's kind of sad, sure, but in some ways I'm kind of okay with his story. So I presume you're talking about Warhawk. So Mary and I both like Warhawk's story. Mary said it was really nice to see that John and Shayera were able to reconcile, despite Shayera's betrayal in Starcrossed, and she wondered what had happened with Vixen. Vixen was presumably out of the picture. Hopefully they weren't cheating. But Warhawk is a gruff, grumpy, Wolverine-style hero, you know. I quite like him. Third question. Finally, do you two feel like Harley Quinn is overrated at this point? Personally, I don't. Each iteration is different from the other in various ways. Margot is different from Arlene, and both are different from Kaylee Cuoco. And no one quite knows what Lady Gaga will bring to her version of the character. I just hope the other BTAS and STAS original characters like Harvey Bullock, Mercy Graves, and Andrea Beaumont can one day receive the same treatment. Well, I am perfectly fine with the amount of Harley Quinn content out there, and I'm quite glad that, as you said, a lot of them are very different. Mary expressed excitement for Lady Gaga's take on Harley Quinn because she assumed it would be very different to what Arlene Sorkin had done. I think we mentioned earlier just how much Arlene Sorkin gave of herself into the character of Harley Quinn, so it kind of makes sense that every iteration afterwards is perhaps not the same, but not at all worried about the amount of Harley Quinn content out there, and keep bringing it on. It's great. I remember reading an interview with Margot Robbie where she said that she hoped that Harley Quinn would become like a James Bond style character with lots of different women playing her and no real questions about timelines and continuity. She basically didn't want the role to be tied down to one person, which in a way it has been a little bit with Arlene Sorkin. But, you know, I guess we're talking about live action with a wider audience. But anyways, yes, sorry, just to conclude your comment here, I'm super excited to hear the next episode. DC has so many exciting and wonderful female characters. It's a topic rife for exploration. As far as the episode about the couples of the DCEU, I assume you mean DCAU, perhaps you can reach out to fellow YouTuber Meg of Megmage Reacts. She is slowly working her way through the animated series and rewatching each episode individually alongside a selection of movies. She has some beautiful insight into the characters from a female perspective, unburdened by years of familiarity. For instance, she just saw Harley's Holiday and had no idea that Batman and Harley could potentially date. And she loves the Clark and Lois relationship. I think that Meg and Mary could have a brilliant conversation about DC couples. Just a suggestion, keep up the wonderful work. Mary is very enthusiastic about that idea, actually, and she is going to go and research that person and look at their channel to see what they're all about. I'm completely fine with it. I work with anyone that asks, really. Lol. That sounded bad. Next, we have Captain Alces. Captain Alces returns and says... The most Schway episode yet. Batman Beyond month has been such a treat, I almost feel spoiled rotten. What stopped you from feeling spoiled, Captain? Did I not give enough? What more could I have done? You're missing out on a true gem in Emperor's New Groove. The duo of Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton is comedy gold, and the greatest Disney princess is actually David Spade as a very punchable llama. It is always one of my highest recommendations. Treat yourselves. All right, we will. Mary's agreed that we're going to watch it at some point. We've got it. Presumably it's on Disney Plus, so we'll watch it. People are loving the best ladies idea. There are a few obvious picks like Harley, Diana, and Shayera, and I would argue Mercy. But let's be honest with ourselves. The best woman in the entire DCAU is none other than the shining star of Superman the Animated Series. The legendary journalist, Angela Chen. I want you to know that Mary laughed very hard at that joke, so well done, Captain Al. Classic villains in Batman Beyond is a fantastic prompt. I know Ivy was said to be in the Amazon, but I feel that barely scratches the surface. She could turn a dense landscape like that into an army the likes of which humanity has never seen. And how gut-wrenching would it have been for her to watch the Gotham transformed into a cyberpunk dystopia, even further engineered beyond the grungy pit of industry it always was. And with her ability to create pod people of sorts, Ivy could effectively evade aging and remain a top-tier threat past her 90s. Wouldn't that be an interesting villain? I imagine this grey-haired woman who looks like she's 30 battling the futuristic tanks of New Gotham, with plant beasts that look virtually prehistoric. Ivy is scary when she cuts loose. Agreed. And Mary and I lamented the fact that we didn't include Poison Ivy in our honourable mentions of top women. So that was a big oversight. Thank you for pointing that out. Finally, we end this section as we began with a reference to Screen Wiper. So Screen Wiper returns and says, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City and Arkham Knight technically make a trilogy, but there's also Arkham Origins in the canon, albeit younger, sound-alike voice actors for many characters. So I see it as a quadrilogy, or whatever the term for a 4-part saga is. In real-life cases like Mr. Cruel seems straight up out of a Batman comic, utterly sick and incorporating the use of a masked costume. True Crime Channel Disturbin did a great video on that horrible case. So Mary is also going to go and look into that because she loves listening to these awful, horrible cases. Usually as she's going to sleep at night, and she'll fall asleep within a couple of minutes, and I'll have to lay there and listen to the whole thing all night. Wonderful stuff, right? I agree with Mary that Ivy's fate would be great to know, and I agree with what Luke brings up. Ivy seems to be getting less human and more plant-like over time in the DCAU, and in some other DC continuities, so her just abandoning humanity to become a forest deity or something makes sense. And finally, in reference to his email, including pictures of his chickens, what was going to be a simple email with just a handful of photos has turned into a 90-page document, mostly pictures, not a lot of reading. So it's taken a long time. Especially back when it was just an email, Outlook deleted most of the photos and had to go find them all again. Been working on it for over 2 weeks. Despite constant technical difficulties making everything so much harder than it needed to be, it's done, and I've sent Blue's biography off to you. Season 1, young Blue in her old home with her old pack, who are all dead now, aka Blue, the series. Season 2, Old Mother Blue in her new home with her new current pack, aka Blue Beyond. I commented on this one a lot. I don't expect you to read them all in their entirety next episode. Well, too late, Screen Wiper. It's already done. In fact, I've done it twice now. And you can probably hear my voice is starting to break on me, which is kind of funny. Thank you, everyone, for all of your comments. I appreciate every single one of you. It's why I take the time to read them all out aloud, so you get a little piece of recognition for, taking some time out of your day to share your thoughts. Appreciate it. Okay, that's the end of this episode. Mary and I are going to be back in 2 weeks with our next episode looking at the couples of the DCAU, seeing as a few of you suggested that as a topic, and it's going to be our Valentine's Day special. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and we will see you next time. You can tell I'm not used to doing the outros. Mary usually does them. This has been a complete shambles, so I'm stopping the recording now.